Hello, my name is Chloe, welcome to my channel. Today I'm bringing to you my March wrap-up. So I feel like my hair's gonna annoy me already. It's not quite dry yet. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but it is after work. I found some time in the evening and I'm filming with natural light. Obviously like the lights in my room as well, but how? Okay, am I finally happy with it? This is gonna have to do. So yeah, I found some spare time. I kind of forgot that I was gonna try and film this and edit it the day I wanted it to go up. So luckily we can do it tonight. So March was a pretty naff reading month for me. I did read 19 books, which is absolutely amazing, seeing as I had my exam on the 9th and I had that whole period before I was really struggling to read. So 19 books is amazing, but my average rating was a 2.7. I had some really naff reads this month and not many that I loved. So yeah, as I have said though, there are 19 books, so I'm not going to take forever to talk about them. I'll just do a couple of sentences about them. But just to run you through my actual ratings, I had 3 books that I didn't rate at all. 3 1 stars, 2 1.5 stars, 2 2 stars, 1 2.5 star, 2 3 stars, 5 4 stars, and 1 5 star. So there were a few 4 stars in there. That was my most common rating, but just the majority of my ratings were under a 3 star. We'll just do them in the order that I finished them, I guess, because I've got a list in front of me and not necessarily all of the books. So the first book I finished was Clickbait by Anne Vallet, which I gave 1.5 stars. I listened to this audiobook on Libby. I could actually not tell you a single thing about it, and that's why it got 1.5 stars. Maybe it got 0.5 star because there was some cute romancy thing in there that I enjoyed listening to, but overall this has the rating it does because I can't remember anything. I am not going to go back and look into it because the whole point of my bad rating is I don't remember anything. I think that it was a girl who is not in the popular crowd, and one of her friends went from the non-popular crowd to the popular crowd and it completely changed her, and then there was some sort of tragic accident. It's obvious from the start what's gonna happen. There was no thrill to it, there was no shock factor, and yeah, I just don't really remember anything about it. Next one I didn't rate, that's The Road to Oz by L. Frank Baum. This was the 5th Wizard of Oz book and it was the last one I had in my big bind up. I did pass that big bind up onto Rhiannon from the Welsh Reader because I didn't need to keep it around. I didn't actually enjoy the stories all that much. I feel like if I was going to give them ratings, they'd be 1, 1.5 stars, maybe pushing a 2 in some cases. But yeah, I can't tell you what happened in The Road to Oz apart from like that's any different to The Wizard of Oz. I'm just thinking of it as Oz. Like I don't care for it. Yeah, and I knew Rhiannon would appreciate them more and give them a better home. So I passed on the beautiful bind up to her. Yeah, I just don't care for the individual stories. The Wizard of Oz in its entirety and the whole idea, the movie, is such a big part of my childhood, but it turns out as an adult reading the books for the first time, I didn't care for them. Next, we had a 4-star book, which potentially I need to bump up to 4.5, I'm not sure. That is Normal People by Sally Rooney. I really, really enjoyed this book. To even tell you what it's about normal people doing normal things. It's Connell and Marianne, growing up in a small town in the west of Ireland, and during their school days, Marianne is really weird and no one really wants to be friends with her, but she strikes up a bit of a secret romance with Connell, and it just follows their lives, and that's literally it. I buddy read this one with Flor and Rachel, and it was a really nice experience to buddy read. I don't think any of us were aware how hard-hitting some of the topics were going to be, which, if anything, I think made it nicer that we were all reading it together because the unexpected came and we could sort of talk to each other about it. But yeah, I absolutely love this book and I would fully recommend it. I am on the hype train for it. Next, here's a fun one. I read The Lottery by Peter J. Venison. This was a book I was sent for review and I can finally take all of these tabs out now I'm doing this wrap up. I just wanted to leave them as sort of illustration. So this is from Clink Street Publishing or Publishers, apologies, let me check. Clink Street Publishing. It is a brand new release. It came out, I think it does just say 2021. And yeah, I was given it for review. I gave it 1 star. This book was highly, highly offensive. If you can make this out, all of the orange tabs were moments where I was offended or disgusted with the contents of this book. The pink are things I did enjoy. So let's just talk about those first. Because there was a long distance relationship element to this book, which I thought was done almost perfectly. I loved it. I loved the representation. Not like we're a group to be represented, you know what I mean? Like, I liked how the story was told. I felt that it was very realistic, and I genuinely just enjoyed what they did with that element of it. But all of the orange stuff are racist, sexist, classist comments, including the sexualization of breastfeeding. So really did not enjoy those parts of it. And I will be unhauling this. If anyone wants to brave it and give it a go, let me know. But I now have to sit and take all my tabs out, which is going to take me some time because I hated a lot of it. But saying that, I do feel really bad. I felt very bad about giving it a very negative review because I was sent it for free, but that's the whole point of reviewing. I didn't enjoy it. It needs a bad rating. But yeah, I did feel really awkward doing so. Next, I have one that half of the internet is going to hate me for, and that is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which I gave 2 stars. So, The Night Circus. I loved the writing. It was absolutely gorgeous. The atmosphere of the book was amazing. And I have now favorited a playlist on Spotify, which is the atmosphere of it. And I love it. It gives me so, like, creepy but chilled vibes. I don't even know how to explain it. I will link it in the description if you want to go check it out. I feel like it's such a good time, especially if you want to read along with it. But the story, I didn't care for it. I didn't care for the magic system, if you can call it that, and I didn't actually care for the circus. So yeah, 2 stars, and I'm going to stop talking about it so I don't get slaughtered. Next, we have the start of my 24-hour readathon I did. Again, everyone who joined in, thank you so much for your support. It was such a fun time. But the first book I read in that was Extraordinary Means by Robin Schneider, which I gave 3 stars. I feel like I would have absolutely loved this as a teenager, especially in a non-COVID world. So this is about a boarding school for kids with, is it drug-resistant tuberculosis? I want to say it's tuberculosis. I've actually forgotten. But yeah, there is a made-up total drug-resistant strain, which means that these teenagers are all living in a boarding school and they cannot have contact with the outside world. Saying that, these teenagers do get bored being cooped up all day, and they seem to disregard what impact they could have on other people and go to the local Starbucks, even though they're not allowed outside. So it was a very horrible book to read in a COVID world. But there was a lot of teen angst and romance and like finding yourself and all that good stuff that I would have loved as a teenager, or maybe just a 20-something-year-old before COVID. But during COVID, I couldn't give this more than 3 stars. Next, I read potentially my biggest disappointment this month, and that is How to Break a Boy by Laurie Devore, which I gave 2 stars. This was still in my 24-hour readathon. As you can see, it's gorgeous, but that didn't change the story. So I actually cannot remember what happens in this. As I said, 2 stars, forgettable. This is about Olivia Clayton, has mastered the art of tearing others down to stay on top. She and her best friend Adrienne rule the small southern town like all good mean girls do, through intimidation and manipulation, until Olivia suffers a family tragedy and catches Adrienne sleeping with her boyfriend. I do remember that. Olivia decides to make a change, but finds it impossible to resist taking down Adrienne one last time. Up to her old tricks, Olivia convinces golden boy Whit Durant to be her SAT tutor and her fake boyfriend. But when it starts to feel real, Whit gets caught up and Olivia and Adrienne's war. So this was the classic mean girls. One girl decides not to be mean, tries to take down the other mean girl, bit of fake dating, that all the tropes that I normally love, to be honest, and I felt like they were done really poorly. The characters didn't seem to have, they had emotions and they bounced around, but they didn't do it for any sort of reason. It didn't make sense. It was to the fact that rather than being an unreliable narrator, Olivia was just like, she would not, her decisions made no sense and they were never explained. And it really bothered me because this is such a gorgeous book and I don't want to look at it anymore. Next we had a reread, so it was a 4-star, and that was Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. I did give this 4 stars the first time I read it, which was back in September of 2020, and rereading it this month, 4 stars again. I think I did start this towards the end of February, but just didn't finish it in time, so finished it in March. This was because I'm taking part in Tog Along while we're reading through all of the Throne of Glass books. And yeah, I don't even know what I can say about this. If you are completely unaware, this is about Selena, who is an assassin, and she enters a competition to become the king's assassin for her freedom. So if she wins, she won't have to go back to the prison she is bound to die in. And yeah, it's like a competition to be the best assassin. And it's so good. But there's a lot of fantastical elements as well that I wasn't really expecting, especially when I went in for the first time. Obviously I knew they were coming the second time, to do with like magic systems and I was going to say a massive spoiler then for book 2. Yeah, such a good time, and I would seriously recommend diving into the Throne of Glass series. Next I had another disappointment, and that's just because this book has been on my shelf for so long. And I only just picked it up, and that was All the Crooked Saints by Maggie Stiefvater. I wasn't really going to read this, but I saw it on Libby, so I could listen to the audiobook and follow along, which I did, and I gave it 1 star. I did not care for this book at all. I could not tell you anything that happened, and I'm not over-exaggerating that time. We're in Beach Araro in Colorado, that's hard to say, and it's some sort of magical realism thing where they're performing miracles. But I can't tell you what happened. I don't know. I really don't know. There was a radio station involved that one of them was running. But yeah, I sat, read this and listened to the audiobook, and I'm still clueless. So 1 star. Next, my favourite book of the month, so it really made up for that disappointment, was The One by John Mars. I absolutely love this book. Like, I'm trying to not look too excited, but seriously, I loved it. So this is Our World. There is a service that you can use where you send off your DNA and you are matched to your perfect match based on your DNA. There is now a Netflix series of this book, but I've now read the book and watched the whole series. The series is nothing alike. You can watch them and read them completely individually. It's just the concept that they've taken to the show. The actual storylines are so amazing. Without spoilers, my favourite character of the book is the serial killer. He is just great. Absolutely love it. And it's just about learning how people's brains work. And it started a lot of discussions with me and my friends and me and Cole about whether you would take the perfect match test. And I don't think I would. But yeah, it's so amazing. I don't even know what to say about it. Next, I read a childhood classic that did not disappoint, and that was My Sister Jodie by Jacqueline Wilson. I've been slowly reading through Jacqueline Wilson's books. I have a lot more to go, but I gave this one 4 stars. This is the highest rating I've given so far for going back to a Jacqueline Wilson. They've all been 2 stars or less. And I remember this being my favourite when I was a child, and I just did not want it to disappoint, and it definitely didn't. 4 stars, really did enjoy it. I can't remember why it didn't get 5, it was missing something, but I know why this tore my heart out. It did it again. But this is about Pearl and Jodie, who, Jodie's a bit of a loose cannon, let's say, and their parents get a job at this boarding school called, why have I forgotten what it's called? Melchester College, a Victorian Gothic mansion. So yeah, the parents get jobs there as the caretaker and the cook, essentially. So the girls have to go and join this school. It starts off in the summer holidays, so they're just hanging about the school with the kids that are left there from the summer. And it's all about Jodie really just being a bit of a loose cannon, a bit of a wild one, and how that's impacting Pearl and sort of the judgments that they're both making. And yeah, how she's going to fit into this new environment. It broke my heart. I'm keeping it. It will continue to break my heart for years, I'm sure. Next, we have another 1-star book, and that is Snow White and the Huntsman by a lot of different people, but I think Goodreads lists it as Evan Doughtry as the main author. I'm very grateful to Emily from Novell Novels for sending me this one. I do absolutely love the film. This is the book of the film. Problem with that is that it's very short, and it doesn't elaborate on the film at all. So there's all these there's all these things happening that are based on emotions, and there's no build up to the emotion at all. The emotion just exists. And yeah, because you would see it in the film, you'd get the vibes. No vibes. We've been talking for far too long already. There's no vibes. Didn't gel with it. Next, a 1.5 star book that was completely expected to be a low rating, and that is Then He Ate My Boy in Trances by Louise Readathon. This is book number 6 of the Georgia Nicholson series, which follows Georgia and the Ace Gang as they navigate all teen girl problems, really. I just explained a lot of the story, which is a spoiler for a lot of the books. But let's just say Georgia goes to America in this one. There were a lot of things I took from this and asked my American friends whether they were actually real or whether it was a complete exaggeration. Turns out it is real, just in very cowboy places. It was fine. 1.5 stars, to be honest, is not bad for these books. It's a 1 star that we really have to worry about. That 0.5 meant I did like something, but as I always say, I've got the rest of the series. I'm carrying on. We're reading number 7 in April. We're in April now, Jesus. And yeah, I'm going to finish reading them, but this one can go now. Next, I believe, no, it's definitely not the last one I didn't give a rating for. The second one I didn't give a rating for is The Story of Babushka by Catherine Flores. This is a children's book. It is quite heavily picture focused, but still quite a lot of a story. And this is about Babushka, who is a Russian nesting doll. And it's about the 5 layers of Babushka's personality, like the 5 layers that make up who she is. So let me just remind myself what they are. We have outer appearance, wealth, talent, wisdom, and heart and inner voice. And it's all about how those things can't work independently as a person, how you need all of those elements to be a well-rounded person. I didn't rate this because I am definitely not the target audience. I can agree that it was one of the cutest things I've ever looked at. Whether I jawed with the story, really, that's not the point. I understood what they were trying to do. I would show this to a child, I would read it out to them, but yeah, it's not something I need to keep around. I'm trying to find the cutest bean of a character and it's disappeared. No, the character has disappeared, so it looks like we're not going to find it, but this can now go from my life. I've read it. I wanted to see what it was all about after I saw somebody hyping it up, and yeah, I'm glad I gave it a go, but it can go now. Next, a book that made me cry, and that is Get a Life, Chloe Brown by Talia Hibbert. This was gifted to me from Victoria quite a while ago now. I think it was when I got my job. It was, so thank you again, Victoria, for giving me this one. I've been putting it off because of the hype, and I feel like 4 stars is a pretty normal rating that people are giving it, and then they're giving the Danny Brown and Eve Brown higher ratings. This was fine. It's just an adult romance about Chloe Brown who decides to go and live on her own, and she wants to do a couple of things to help her get a life. I think we can all agree that the premise for this book is really stupid. It's she almost dies, but she doesn't. She just misses getting hit by a car. That's happened to me several times in the past year. Don't look around me when I'm walking. So if I had to make a bucket list every time that happened, I'd have no time to do the normal things in life. So I think it definitely dropped 0.5 star just for the premise being stupid. And then something with it didn't quite gel with me, but I did cry in the smut because the main character shares my name. And yeah, it was upsetting. Yeah, I read this in Bookathon, and there's part of me in the vlog crying, so go check that out if you want. But did love this, and I am going to try and get my hands on the rest of the Brown sisters very soon. Next, another slight disappointment, I'm sad to say, and that is Midnight by Jacqueline Wilson. This was one of the ones I read as a child and I didn't really love then, but I got it as part of my bulk buy of her books. I gave this one 2.5 stars. This follows Violet and her brother Will, And Violet's quite into these fairy books from when she was a child, so she has fairies flying around her room that she's made, and nobody knows this author. It's just Casper Dream. But a very long time ago, Casper Dream wrote her a letter, so she feels some sort of emotional bond to these books. I think she acts quite juvenile for her age, and she's with her older brother. He tells her that she's a little kid and a new girl comes to school and she's a bit more mature. So it's just all about the sort of going to high school and working out where you kind of fall. It was fine. I liked the idea, but I didn't gel with it as a child, so I wasn't going to gel with it again. So 3 stars is my fine rating, and I just dropped it a little bit from that. So I would recommend it to kids, but it's just not my cup of tea. Next is my book club book this month, and that was The Lion Game by Ruth Ware, which I gave 3 stars. I have been reflecting on my review today because it's actually the live show in a couple of hours now, and I wanted to make sure I had all of my opinions. I am going to be sticking at 3 stars. This was a very mediocre thriller, is all I will really say. As soon as a character got introduced, I worked out the entire storyline of the book, nearly down to the last detail. I think I got it slightly wrong, but yeah, I know what was happening. It's quite a chunker. It did not need to be this long. We could have cropped out 100 pages, but I did enjoy the characters and I liked the general idea for the book. So 3 stars, and I will link our live show that is happening tonight. So it will have happened 2 days ago for you. But yes, go check that out if you want to hear more of our opinions on this one. The last physical book I have is the final 4-star book, and that was Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas. This is the 2nd book in the Throne of Glass series. So this was my first time reading this one. Again, we're following Selena, and that's all I will say because anything else would spoil the first book. But there is a lot more magic and a lot more fantasy elements that maybe we weren't expecting, let's just say. And yeah, I really did enjoy it. 4 stars. A lot of people have said that it's the next book where it really picks up, and it's a definite 5 stars. So we will see, because I did enjoy this. I did enjoy the hints at romance. There was a fade to black sex scene in this though, which really bothers me, especially now reading Sarah J Maas. It sounds filthy where I'm like, we can't have fade to black, but Sarah J Maas is now being quite known for her smut and how she writes smut. So yeah, I was expecting more. When it started happening, I thought, here we go, and the curtain was closed on that one. So I would have wanted that. Maybe that would have given it 4.5 stars. Am I that superficial? I don't know. But yeah, did enjoy, and I can't wait to read Heir of Fire, which is number 3. And the final book I read in the month has already left my house, and that was Ted Bundy, Conversations with a Killer by Stephen G. McLeod and Hugh Ainsworth, I think are both of their names. So I read this, and I've actually already passed it over to Molly at Mind of Molly because they said they wanted to read this one, and it just wasn't something I wanted to keep around. I didn't give it a rating because as an actual book for enjoyment factor, it would be a 2-star. But if someone said, hey, we sat down with Ted Bundy and here are his exact answers, that is a 5-star from me. What I am going to do is definitely go back and watch the Netflix series because I never watched it. And I feel like that's going to do what I wanted this book to achieve. So I know quite a lot about the Ted Bundy cases, just for my normal interest in true crime. I do know a fair amount about them. So I didn't need the recap of each case, but I feel like picking this book up, it was the full transcript, well, not the full, but everything interesting from the transcripts typed out and bound. I wanted a couple of breaks to say, hey, here's this case, here's what we're talking about, this is what happened, this was the evidence, this is like what happened in court, blah, 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 and here's what he said about it. Where it was more just, here's what he said about everything in life. And I just wanted a bit more of what actually happened rather than just what was happening in Ted's head. That makes sense. But I really do hope Molly enjoys it, and I will be on the lookout for their review. So those are all the books I read in March. Please do let me know if you read any of these down in the comments. I would love to hear your opinions. But on that note, I'm going to go because I have not stopped talking. So I really do hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one.